We are live from Johnny Donut Studios in beautiful downtown 65. It was cold today, 65-degree weather, and you are watching the Mad Bomber podcast. Wow, still brings a little tingle to the skin. That was the last Raider game against Jacksonville in 2019. I always try to start stuff on a high note, and gonna bring what's going on. Here we go. Let's get this right. There he is. We had technical difficulties, yo. It's been a weird day. Oracle, what did you think about that? Charles Woodson leading the Oakland. I mean, you've seen the pictures, and you're going to be getting to go to your very first game next week, the Giants game. And I don't know what to expect. I don't know if we're going to have a lot of Giants fans. I don't know if we're going to have a full Raider house. I don't know what's to expect. I believe there's going to be a lot of empty seats just by what I see on the ticket sales so far. But that was 2019, the last game at the Grand Ole Opry, and it still gives me a pain in my but you had so many years there. My first game there was 1968.
Wow.
And then go to 2019, and so other than that, that's kind of where we're at with this team. Again, I believe that when the Raiders get good, we're going to see it's going to be chic, especially in Las Vegas. Everybody's going to become a Raider fan. They did a study this week in Las Vegas. They had a study on how many viewers were actually watching the Las Vegas football team at home. Take a guess. How many viewers watched the Raiders and Eagles game in the greater Las Vegas area?
I'm going to go 3 million. Lower or higher?
80,000.
Whoa.
That's an NFL game.
That's shocking. That is
boy, you talk about having to sell something. Now, there was another thing this week, Oracle, that came out that said Allegiant Stadium is the second biggest grossing stadium in the world.
Well, that doesn't make sense if only 80,000 people in their local market are watching the game.
I mean, the more people, so you think about it, there's 60,000 people that go to the game and 80,000 people that watch it in the greater Las Vegas area. Maybe that's the reason why these ticket prices are plummeting, other than the Dallas game. So, Oracle, let's go ahead and I'm going to give you the stage. I don't even know what I saw on Sunday. There was a lot of guys. Yeah, we had the great. We got to watch the game together with our friends and eat tamales and watch it. And guys, in the third quarter, the people that were watching it with me wanted to turn the TV off. They didn't want to watch. And I have 3 TVs in the backyard, and I had a nasty crew telling me that I needed to turn the TV off. And in Oracle, didn't I try to turn it off and it just wouldn't turn off?
No. Well, one thing we learned about your TVs is that some of your TVs are more expensive than others.
Well, since they're outside, it's like, and it is in San Diego, so it's never really cold. But every once in a while, the cold will get to it. But yeah, that TV just wouldn't turn off. It would just kept staying on the Raider channel. But by higher demand by Raider fans that were there, They wanted to watch what was it? The Rams? What was the Rams game?
The Rams-Lions game, yeah.
Rams-Lions game. So it was such a stinker of a game. And I can only imagine a friend of mine, a guy I've just met recently, Jeff LaFontaine. He's the black hole president from New England. And he went on. Him and I have been talking quite a little bit. I'm going to be showing some of the pictures. His wife got to go to their very first game in Philly. And I got a picture of it, and I want to share it on Tuesday. I want to wait to share it.
Yeah.
But, Oracle, when do you remember the first time you actually walked out into the stadium and looked at that field? Did you just take your breath away?
What field are you talking about in particular? Are
The
you talking about
first time you walked into a stadium, I can remember the first time I walked into a baseball stadium, and I was like, whoa. But I remember when I walked into the Raiders stadium for the very first time, and there's a big difference between a football crowd and a baseball crowd.
Yeah.
But so Jeff took his wife to her very first football game ever, and he said it was just magic when she saw the field. They got in there. It looked like they got in there pretty early from what the pictures should look like, but it just seemed like he said, "Oh my God, she was just hooked." And it's like, I think that's what happens to most of us. Most of us go to that first game. And what was your first game like when you walked out and saw the green, the end zones marked up, and the hoopla going on?
So as a little kid, when I was 6, my first ever football game was a Chargers-Raider game in San Diego at the old Qualcomm Stadium. And this was in LaDainian Tomlinson's rookie year. So this is back when the Raiders had John Gruden the first time. They were still pretty good. And I was a little kid. I don't remember it as much as my mom does, but my mom always tells me of how she was a little freaked out by the Raider fans and wanted to leave after halftime. And if I remember correctly, I believe the Raiders beat the Chargers pretty good in that game. Another game I have an early memory of was I went to a Jets game at the old Meadowlands Stadium.
Wow.
It was the season that Tom Brady, it was right after they had the 07, so it was the 08 season. And I think Tom Brady either got hurt the next game or he might have even got hurt that game, if I remember correctly.
The Matt Castle year?
It was the Matt Castle year. Yeah, definitely.
Right.
And I just remember because I went to a lot of baseball games as a kid. I was a big baseball guy growing up, but going to those football games, just the difference in the crowd is definitely significant. And, you showed the old Oakland Coliseum Stadium. And one of my unfortunate things that I'll never get to do in my lifetime is I always, even as a little kid, just reading about the black hole and watching things on YouTube about it, just seeing the Raider fans on TV, I always wanted to go to a game in Oakland specifically. I know I'm going to be going to a Vegas game next weekend against the Giants, but I know it won't be the same as what you experienced, especially back in the heyday when they were a really good team, whether it be in the 70s or the 80s. Or even in the early 2000s. So just being able to hear the loudness of that crowd, the craziness, the vulgarity, it's definitely, it's what people think of in a football game. And that's why it's part of the experience. It may not be for everyone. It wasn't for my mom, but there is a select group of people to them in a way that's kind of therapy for them.
Totally is therapy. And again, football's not for the faint-hearted. You're going to go to a game, and they do have family sections. In fact, where my seats are, I've never sat there. The very first row in front of me, I guess, allegedly is a family section. If you're going to go to these games, and I was kind of surprised by my friends who went to the Philly game that said, I go, how bad were the fans, And it's like, they weren't bad. And again, I remember in Oakland too, sometimes when you really if the Raiders are winning and they're not playing someone significant, like what Philly was playing this weekend, there's really, it's almost like, what are you going to do? Kick a little kid in the face? It's like, most football fans for the most part are, they're territorial for their team. But I don't think every fan is an MMA fighter, It's just, it's one of those things where you're just you're a fan of the game and you love the game, and that's where relationships are built. But Oracle, again, I don't have nothing to say about that game. While you were watching the game, what were some things that because I know your mind is always working. What were the things that you took away from that game, whether it be the players, the team, or just the overall coaching?
My number one takeaway was, I thought we talked about how the Eagles offensive coordinator, going on about a month now, got his house egged. But I thought he came back and called a really good game against the Raiders, especially finding ways to get Dallas Goedert involved. He had the 2 touchdowns, and we'll show those later. He had the touchdown to Dallas Goedert where it looked like it was going to be a buck sweep to Saquon, but then at the last second, Jalen just kind of flicks it to Goedert, and he's able to run right into the end zone. And then they had a jet sweep to Dallas Goedert too, which I definitely caught a lot of the Raiders off guard on that play. But there were plenty of plays where Dallas Goedert was just wide open, and the Raiders just didn't cover him. They didn't even look for him. They were focused on other guys like A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and supposedly so. But I just thought it was a really good game by the Eagles, obviously, with the score being 31-0. But the coach and the offensive coordinator did a good job of making them look creative and putting some things on tape that their opponents going forward are going to have to defend. They can't just key in on inside zone to Saquon Barkley, QB draw from Jalen Hurts, cue in on A.J. Brown on the perimeter. What route is he going to run? There's other things that you're going to have to look for now too. So I thought he did a really good job of getting some confidence in for the Eagles, their fans, and their players going forward as they embark in their playoff run. For the Raiders, look, it was just they weren't on a competitive field with them. They were in a different class. It almost felt like the Eagles were Penn State and the Raiders were Toledo or something like that.
Weber State.
Yeah, Weber State. Yeah, home of Damian Lillard. And look, Kenny Pickett didn't have a good game. Even though he looked promising in the game against the Chargers when he came in this game, and the offensive line is the offensive line of the Raiders. We expected that. I thought Stone Forsythe had a pretty good game. That was the one positive, but DJ Glaze got his butt kicked again. Caleb Rogers, unfortunately, regressed a little bit in the game. Dylan Parham is Dylan Parham, and Alex Kappa is Alex Kappa at center. So with that, and then the Raiders defense, look, it was just not a great day for anyone, really. Polamalu continues to miss people in open space. The Eagles did a really good job of their formations, too, on the A.J. Brown touchdown where he ran a post from the slot. They did a good job of lining up Jeremy Chin in man coverage, and they lined it up in a way where Brown was on the weak side and Polamalu was the deep safety, and he had to cover the strong side. So when they ran the post, it was pretty much a situation where Jeremy Chin was covering A.J. Brown one-on-one. So that was a really good job by the Eagles offensive coordinator to formation them into some successful plays.
Which they literally took a play out of the Chiefs playbook, because the Chiefs did exactly the same thing with Hollywood Brown. And the Chiefs took that playbook right out of the Colts. What the Raiders have continually done over the years is not gotten a first-rate linebacker in. Even Spillane, who left, wasn't wanted by Pittsburgh. He couldn't cover. His coverage skills were horrible, and he did a lot better with the Raiders. But again, we've never ever put any. We always like to get Devontae Adams's and the Antonio Browns, and what we end up doing is we're kind of putting we're putting Band-Aids on the offensive line and the linebackers, and they're going to have to address that. I mean, if there's anything this season has taught the scouting department, we don't know who's running the show right now. Is it Tom Brady? Is it John Spytek? Who is it? Who's running the show? We don't know yet. I guess we're going to find out probably the day after of the season. We'll see if Pete Carroll's retained. The fan favorite, the favorite is everybody wants him gone. I say give him a chance to get his wheels under him. There's too many players and coaches, ex-players and ex-coaches that understand that he's handcuffed. The problem Pete Carroll did was coming in here and selling us snake oil at the start of the season and saying this is easily a 10-win team. And you know what? You kind of knew it at the start when you're bringing Jamal Adams in, and who's a strong safety. Now he's playing linebacker. Jermaine Pratt's in. He didn't last long. So there was some stuff that happened early in the year. And I think Spytek made one comment after the New England game and said, hey, guys, this was a great win, but let's not get too happy. This is, and I'm paraphrasing. I'm not giving it exact. Basically, he's like, there's going to be ups and downs this year. Just get that straight. Everybody is definitely in a line that Ashton Denchi is a full-time great. He's going to be a great running back. So we don't need George Pickens here. We don't need the divas back here. So with that, we're going to go ahead and start off with one of the plays that we just talked about. And what do we got going on here right here, Oracle?
Well, we have a beautiful stadium right here that unfortunately is not being played in anymore, and one that I always wish I attended. I wish I could have been right there next to you or in the black hole. Can I get in the black hole, or do you have to have, is that like getting into like a Raider country club?
You can get in the black hole. In fact, I can tell you the sections. Those tickets are cheap now too.
Oh man.
This isn't when you want to go. Let's wait, and we'll save all of our eggs. We'll go and collect cans, and you and I will sit in the black hole during a regular season game that's going to mean something.
Okay. All right. I like the sound of that, definitely.
That.
Yeah. So I don't see any play here, Johnny.
Oh, you don't?
No, I still see, that's what I'm saying. I still see the stadium. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Oh, my bad.
No, you're good, man. Yeah. So the Eagles, they used a lot of tight ends in this game. Not only Dallas Goedert, but they also got in Grant Calcaterra in a little bit too. And you see they have two tight ends to the right side on this play, two receivers bunched up on the left together. And then they got Saquon offset to the right. And they're going to initially fake the handoff, kind of like a buck sweep here to Saquon Barkley. But I want you guys to pay attention to the tight end who is off the line of scrimmage. So the one in between the other tight end and in between the right tackle here. And I also want you guys on defense to pay attention to Landon Roberts and Troy Polamalu. And Troy Polamalu, I'm sorry, I keep calling him Troy. Isaiah Polamalu is going to be opposite. He's going to be across from A.J. Brown here.
Okay, here we go.
A little motion. All right. And then look at how wide open Dallas Goedert is just to run into the end zone right there. And this is going to be a better view of it right here. And number 52, I want you to pay attention to him and then pay attention to 20 as they get in. Look how they pay attention to Saquon as this handoff goes. And as you're taught in youth football, don't watch the man, watch the ball. And this is a perfect example right here. If you watch 52 and you watch 20, Isaiah Polamalu, having their eyes on Saquon Barkley, even though Devin White is ready to make a tackle for loss on Saquon Barkley. So that guy is covered. But as linebackers and safeties, you need to keep your eye on the ball because you never quite know if that is just eye candy right there. And right now, that is eye candy. So you guys need to understand that just because you see a fake doesn't mean that that's where it's going. The ball comes to the backside, and Landon Roberts and Isaiah Polamalu are not in position. Maybe if they were watching the ball, they could have made a stop here, but unfortunately they weren't. And these are the little things in the Raiders defense right here, kind of like what you're saying, Johnny, the paper cuts. And this is a little paper cut where it's only a 6-yard gain, or about a 5 or 6 yard gain, but it ends up being 6 points because they don't have their eyes on the ball, unfortunately.
And Devin White was the only one who played this correctly. He had to take Barkley.
Yes.
He had to.
Yes.
That's. But that is Dallas Goedert, number one. Again, beautiful play call, and I guarantee you that they saw that in the film room. We've talked about Devin White. We've talked about our linebackers going really straight. They're A to B. They don't ever. They're not a read and react. They're just a react, and that's what caught them in that play. Okay, let's go. So this is the one where one of our players got super pissed. Hold on, we got a Texan fan following us. Brandon, what's up, Brandon? Holland 51. What do you think 51's for?
I don't know.
Oh God, it's got to be for Anderson, right? He's Brandon Holland 51. Still trying to figure out why the Texans were playing. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me send this way. He said Texans.
Oh, he's a Texans fan.
Yeah.
Wow,
let me pull this up. Now we know why he's number 51.
Yeah. I mean, look.
He's probably not a Johnny come lately guy since Will Anderson come. Wait. Anyway, Brandon, if that is really your team, wow, you got to watch this team and have fun with this team. Guys, subscribe and like right now. I was told I have to say this more. I hate doing this. I hate it. But this is for a Raider dad. So if you guys like it, give me a like. So now we're going to show the play where the Raiders bench went a little ballistic. Okay. Let me set this up. Okay. My keyboard's
so this time we got 3 tight ends who are on the field. We got Dallas Goedert, who's on the right side, or at the top of the screen, as we should say. And then we have 2 tight ends who are on the line. One is on the line of scrimmage. One is slightly off the line of scrimmage on the bottom of the screen. So 3 tight ends here. And then we got Saquon offset to the left, and A.J. Brown up at the top of the screen is the lone receiver. So what we got to understand here is everyone says this, that we got to set the edge, but that goes well beyond just the defensive line on the play. That sometimes involves the corners on the play. And especially when you're in the goal line, you really got to set the edge, because if you don't set the edge as a corner, it's a touchdown. And I want you guys to watch Darian Porter. He's the Raider defender that's all the way at the bottom of the screen.
Here's to us.
And here's to us. He needs to understand that Saquon Barkley is the lead blocker on this play. And again, if you're watching the ball, you understand that Dallas Goedert has the ball again. Saquon is the lead blocker. So what Darian Porter needs to do is become the force player. And instead of hanging around right by the end zone, trying to diagnose if it's run or pass and engaging with the tight ends and getting blocked, he needs to scream upfield and attack the inside shoulder of Saquon Barkley. And he needs to get right on the side where he's in between Dallas Goedert looking at him, and Saquon's going to block him, but he needs to make sure he attacks Saquon's inside shoulder, because that will get in the vision of Dallas Goedert, and he will see that there's a defender right there that he's going to have to work around. But because he doesn't see that, he's able to just waltz right in the end zone because Porter doesn't set the edge. And it's amazing that Saquon's the lead blocker on this play, and he doesn't even block anybody. I mean, both of them are just allowed to go right into the end zone. And this is the play where Max Crosby and Devin White got mad at each other, and who knows what it was really about. But if we really look at this play, we got Darian Porter, we got Jeremy Chin next to him, and then Devin White. Crosby is going to get double teamed here initially by the 2 tight ends, and then the other tight end's going to work up to Jeremy Chin. This is going to leave Grant Calcaterra on Crosby. Now, Crosby does get blocked on this play pretty well in the run game. I mean, he's getting doubled. You're going to get pushed back a little bit. And this kind of pushes, as he's getting blocked, it kind of pushes him into Devin White a little bit. But what Devin White needs to understand is if Porter would have set the edge properly on this play, then White could have been able to be a backside pursuit player. And that means he would have been able to go right in between the left tackle and the left guard of the Eagles. And if Porter would have hit the inside shoulder of Saquon Barkley, and that could have redirected Goddard back towards the middle of the defense, then Devin White could have came in for a tackle for loss. But unfortunately, no one's playing their assignments right. Well, I'll say this. Darian Porter definitely didn't play his assignment right. And Devin White probably shouldn't have been so quick to get to the edge there. He needs to understand that the other guys on the defense are supposed to be setting the edge. Now, maybe he is trying to overplay his role a little bit just because he figures the other guys aren't doing their jobs properly, and that might have led to his frustration with Crosby. But I think if he really goes back and looks at the tape, he should be more upset that Darian Porter didn't properly set the edge, and that didn't allow for anyone, whether it's Crosby, whether it's Chin, whether it's Devin White, to come backside, pursue, and make the tackle for loss on that play. Now, I'm not saying they would have made the tackle for loss, but the fact that Porter didn't set that edge, that really screwed the whole thing up and allowed Goddard to just walk in there untouched.
Absolutely. And we are the biggest Darian Porter fans here. And this goes back to what we've been trying to say. This is preseason football for these kids right now. Nobody's playing for championships. Nobody's going to the playoffs. Right now, Pete Carroll has to get this instilled into all of the rookies, not only the rookies, but guys like DJ Glaze, who are like first-year players, there's guys, you got Charles Grant played his first game, who literally really looked good. Oh, look at this. Our new friend, Darian Porter versus his whole team. Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. Nice. Well, we love this guy. This guy's coming in strong today.
Oh, man, yeah. This guy can hang out here more. Maybe we should have him. We'll fly him out.
You got to fly him out. Send us your info.
To come out to, maybe he can fix the TVs, too.
Jesus. No, the TVs don't work. But back to what – so Pete Carroll in his press conference, because, I don't know if he hasn't acted like he's coaching or – he's not worried about his job. You can just see that he's not worried about his job. But what he did say is that there was a ton of guys on the defense that played out of position. They didn't do their jobs, and they were trying to make plays, and he made it sound like, I know they're trying to make plays, but they have to stick to their job. He was also beat writer asked him, hey, are you and Pat Graham, on the same page? And I'm paraphrasing everything. And I'm not going to tell you something he didn't say that's negative. He just says, well, we're still trying to figure each other out. So I don't know if that's an endorsement for Patrick Graham or endorsement for him. But there's definitely people that aren't on the same page on that in the coaching staff there.
Well, it's definitely not an endorsement for him because he's the head coach. He's the one that made the exec. He's when he comes in to be the head coach, I understand he has bosses. But at the same time, he's been in the league for how many decades? And he should have an understanding of how to work with defensive coordinators. So this whole thing of, we're still trying to figure everything out. I mean, come on, Pete, you've been doing this for a while. I mean, you should kind of know how to figure this out. You're not a first-year head coach.
Oracle's pissed at you, Pete. I think a lot of other fans are too. Again, if we get an offensive line, I think that fixes a lot of problems. Because this defense isn't on the field all day long. We don't have 75 yards of offense. And Kenny Pickett, Geno Smith, Tommy, Geno, Tommy, anybody, Fernando Mendoza, put him back there, that's what's going to happen. You need to get a guy like this. Let's watch Spencer.
All right, yeah.
Let's watch how people are supposed to block. Watch this. There's not one person he blocks that isn't on his A-hole. Check this out. This guy is a beast. You want Fernando Mendoza? Oh, what about that guy? I want that. Look at this. Every play, somebody's on the ground.
Can you imagine him and JPJ next to each other, combo blocking?
We'll just take you down to the other side of the field, and now you're on the ground.
Yeah.
And now you're on the ground. Now you're on the ground. Now you're on the ground. Look at this.
Look, I know a lot of Raider fans want Fernando Mendoza right now. I'll just say this. I'm not going to say he's not the answer, but there could be a lot of answers in this draft. And if they don't end up with Mendoza, I think there could be some really good options. It's not a Mendoza or bust situation. They could get a guy like Spencer Fano to come in, solidify this offensive line with Colton Miller healthy, with JPJ healthy.
Look at that. Look at that. He's still pushing him.
Yeah.
This kid is look at that. He wants to eat. He wants to eat. We talked
and
about that.
I really think him and JPJ could be two peas in a pod right there. Just bring a nasty attitude to this line. And we know Ashton Jancy's going to love that more than anybody.
Yes, he is. So now that you've seen that, let's take a look. Who are we playing this week, Oracle? We are playing the
number 1 ranked defense, Houston Texans. I know Brandon's going to blow us up in the chat about this. By the way, I'm not a big fan of their red uniforms either. I'll say that.
You know what?
I like the navy blue uniforms of the Texans a lot better.
I don't even like any of their uniforms. Their uniform, I think their helmets are stupid. I don't know. There's just like Green Bay's, like, you go Raiders are the first ones. I don't care. And they, not only just because it's my team, but they're just got a really cool. And some people like Tampa Bay's. Not a fan. But Green Bay, Pittsburgh, those are cool. Those are really cool. I like the Niners. I've always liked the Niners helmets. That SF's cool. So let's go ahead and let's look at the injury report before we show some of the defense of this team. Okay, so Woody Marks did not practice. Derek Stingley did not practice. Aziz Al-Shir, he practiced or limited. Danico Autry, Hanson, Lassiter, Sheldon Rankins. Wow. Limited. EJ Speed. And then, hey, Bubba, the Raiders get to play Trent Brown. Bubba.
Oh, yeah.
Look at Carmen. Hey, Carmen. Okay, Bussa Carmen.
Hey, Carmen.
Carmen is
I remember. I never forget when John Gruden gave Trent Brown all that money. I'm like, wow.
John Gruden. He did.
He gave him a lot of money.
Could you imagine that guy, boy? Could you imagine taking him to a buffet?
Oh
my God. He'd make them wish they never had that deal. Justin Watson, he's fine. Nick Chubb. Looks like we're going to see Nick Chubb. You know what? Let's talk about the running backs for the Texans. Maybe not as impressive as the rest of the team, right?
I think they get the job done. Woody Marks has been their primary back this year, rookie out of USC, 4th-round pick. He's been solid for them, not spectacular, but he's a little bit a decent runner, decent receiver, and look, he comes and gets the job done. Nick Chubb coming back, we'll see what he has left in the tank. They played a lot of Jawar Jordan last year. He's another, I believe he's a rookie or second-year player. But look, I mean, the big headliners on this team are Nico Collins. I think Nico Collins is one of the best receivers in football, especially when he's healthy. Just a physical specimen, height, weight, speed, could run fast, great hands. He's definitely a guy kind of like A.J. Brown that if you don't account for him, he could really burn you. And if he gets in a situation where he's one-on-one covered, he's definitely going to make the Raiders pay with that. But then they have some other complimentary guys like Jaden Higgins, rookie out of Iowa State, who I really liked in the draft. We'll see if he continues coming along kind of like he has. They got Xavier Hutchinson, who's a contributor for them too. And then Dalton Schultz at tight end is having a little bit of a bounce back year for them. He wasn't that impressive last year, but he's starting to come along. He's been a big factor in their offense last year.
It's a great move by Dalton too.
Yeah, that's like a Brock Bowers move, right?
That
there.
is. He definitely looks like Brock Bowers. Let's watch up on the backside, shall we?
Yeah.
What about Jawar Jordan?
Haven't seen much of him. I mean, it's mostly been Woody Marks for them. I think he got a lot of playing time because Woody Marks went down in this game. But yeah, definitely. It's going to be Nico number 1 as the number 1 threat. And I think Dalton Schultz is going to be the number 2 threat just because of everything he does as a blocker. And he's been a pretty good receiver for them. The Texans played a lot of 2 tight ends last week against the Cardinals. I don't know what the reasoning for that was. I want to see if they continue that this week. They put in Cade Stover, who was CJ Stroud's teammate at Ohio State. Yeah. And look, one thing about Stroud is he had the really good rookie year. last year, even though they won the division, a little bit of a down year statistically in terms of the expectations people had for him going into the year. And even this year, maybe he's not lighting it up statistically, but he's efficient. And they play complementary football to their exceptional defense that they have. And Stroud is going to make the playoffs probably more than, I mean, they got 96% chance to make the playoffs. So three seasons in the NFL, 3 in the playoffs, that signifies that you're a pretty good quarterback in this league.
And he destroys zone defense, which the Raiders play. He is one of the most efficient passers against zone defense in all of football. And stat number 2, Oracle, because I always have to try to keep up with you. CJ Stroud has 11 touchdown passes and 0 picks on any subpar 500 team, which the Raiders are. So look for him to have a big game. The only way the Raiders are going to be able to stay in this game is going to be a special teams blunder, or the Raiders did what they did to Denver on that Monday night, just play lockdown non-run defense and try to get Stroud to get off of his point, which is going to be a tough one. Although I'm not a big Trent Brown guy anymore. I used to think he was actually a decent tackle in his day, but you talk about a guy that doesn't come in in shape. He's just a guy that doesn't take this very seriously. So let's take a look at this. What do we got here, Oracle? Look at this beautiful play by the Texans.
Well, the Texans do a really good job of attacking protections, and sometimes you do it with formations. And as you can see here, if you look at the offensive line, they have 3 receivers. They have a tight end, Trey McBride, who's really another receiver for the Cardinals, even though he does block. But because he's their best receiver, they always have to get him out in a route. So they have a 4-down line right here, but they align I believe that's Will Anderson over the left tackle towards the top of the screen. And then they align the other 3 defensive linemen to the right side of the center. So what this forces is it forces one-on-one blocks for the right tackle, right guard, and center. And it's Arizona, so they don't have the best offensive line, and you're Houston, so you have a way better defensive line. So Jacoby Brissett knows that his offensive line cannot protect that long in one-on-one blocks. So he's going to have to get rid of the ball quickly. But you're going to see a former Raider right here, Danico Autry, just completely push back the right guard of the Cardinals right here and just drive the right guard right into Jacoby Brissett. And he's going to get a nice sack right here. So a lot of people know the Houston defense because of Will Anderson, who's one of the best edge rushers in football, Danielle Hunter, who – I believe this is like Danielle Hunter's 12th season, something like that, which is pretty insane how long of a career he's had. But it's just really good pressure by them. And then you get a guy like Danico Autry, who's also played for a long time now, and he's able to come in and get a one-on-one block, and he's able to make the right guard and the quarterback pay here. So there's a lot of different ways they could beat you, but they got the personnel to really go out and whoop some butts right here.
Absolutely. Pete Carroll said it well, and I watched it when I was watching the film this week. These guys fly to the ball. And they know they stay in their lanes, unlike what we've seen with Dallas Goedert. Okay, what do we got here?
So let me say this. This is the type of defense that Houston has that Pete Carroll would love to coach.
Yes.
And he's watching this Houston team going like, God, I wish I'm kind of jealous of D'Amico Ryans right now. But
he said it all week too, Oracle. He did say that. He was like, this guy was talking about him like they were Marilyn Monroe. For you people that know who Marilyn Monroe is.
I know who Marilyn Monroe is. Yeah. Didn't she date Jim Otto?
She did. All right, Oracle.
All right, so on this player here, we got 6 guys on the line. The 2 linebackers are mugging the A and B gaps right here, but they're going to drop out, and it's going to be another 4-man rush. I mean, when you got really good pass rushers, you rush 4 and you drop 7 into coverage. And even though you can look like you're rushing 6, this is just to get the quarterback to kind of max the protection a little bit. So you're going to see the running back. He's going to stay in pass protection. So you're going to have 6 guys blocking 4 rushers. And this means only 4 guys are out in a route and 7 guys are there to defend him. So this is a numbers advantage that the Texans are able to force in on this play. And you're going to see Danielle Hunter, who's lined up over the left tackle when this ball snapped. And he's going to also attract the running back to him. Now, this is good coverage by the Texans, and that allows Danielle Hunter, even though the Cardinals kind of blocked the Texans for like a second or a second and a half, because there's good coverage on the back end, like I talked about, 7 guys covering 4 receivers.
Yep.
Eventually, you can't block this Houston team for an extended period of time. They're eventually going to get off their blocks and get home. And Jacoby Brissett steps up in the pocket, and Danielle Hunter is able to wrap him up.
Held.
Yeah, getting held, and Danielle Hunter wraps him up, and you're going to see the rest of the team come in and pursue and get Jacoby Brissett on the ground.
Look at this.
Step up, get him, and then everyone comes behind.
And again, let's watch that. Let's watch the side show view, because let's show what a great coverage that their backfield does. I mean, this is a great defense. This is exactly like you said. Pete Carroll would love this. Everybody's covered. Look at that.
Yeah, it's just cover 1 right there. And cover 1, and the Texans have 2 really good cover corners, and Derek Stingley, who's one of the best corners in football. They got Kamari Lassiter, who's really kind of emerged as another one of he's probably the top 2nd corner in all of football. And then they have a guy, Jalen Petrie, on the back end, who's just a really good safety. If you guys want to see a good hit, kind of like almost the Jack Tatum hit from back in the day, what is it, the Storm Patrol?
The Soul Patrol.
Soul Patrol. I'm sorry. How can I forget that?
You don't want to be sorry.
Kind of a Soul Patrol hit is when Jalen Petrie hit Rashee Rice in the Kansas City game.
Oh, yeah. So, Oracle, unfortunately for today, we are going to be without any more videos. My StreamYard is on the blink. So,
okay. The keys to the game? Here's from one of the writers. Ashton Genty has been increasingly used in the passing game, recording 34 receptions on 44 targets, 180 yards, and 2 touchdowns after the Raiders bye. So they did get him more involved. Again, we're very limited with the offensive line, and I mean he's even getting more run because of the offensive line. I do believe that Nico Collins has at least 1,000 yards. We know that. The Texans have won each of their last 6 games, which is the 2nd longest winning streak behind the Broncos. So I know a lot of Raider fans that are going to the game this weekend. A lot of the Los Angeles fans that I know are on their way to the game this weekend, and God bless them. It's going to be a tough game for the Raiders. I don't know how it's going to end up, but I do believe that at the end of the day, we're going to be playing next week the Giants for first place. And guys, we just got a wrench thrown into us. If you guys are one of the fans that are wanting this the tank, a lot of people want the tank, and if you want the tank, you're going to have a bittersweet week 17, because you're going to see Gardner Minshew. The Chiefs have lost Patrick Mahomes for the year. He says he'll be back before the start of the season. I'm not going to doubt him. That guy's like Superman. A lot of people think it's going to be more like October. On that injury, Oracle, how bad is that? Can he come back? And who's had it before? And what was their result? Well, when we look at who's had it before, we don't really know how it translates to today's medicine. And when you have a lot of money like Patrick Mahomes has, we don't know if he's doing something overseas that is non-FDA approved that might be able to really advance the healing process.
Are you talking about stem cells, Oracle?
I don't really know what I'm talking about. All I know is that people go overseas. Like I remember, I'll never forget as a kid when Kobe Bryant had some injury. And I remember hearing that or reading something that he went overseas, probably to like Germany or something like that. And then he came back and was doing tomahawk dunks and all that. And this was like 20 years ago. So who
Right.
knows where we're at today? So look, I mean, a guy like Patrick Mahomes, where you have a 9-figure net worth, who knows? And he's a guy who spends a lot of money on his body as it is, and he's a guy who takes football very seriously. He's not one of these immature guys off the field.
Nope.
So he's going to put he's going to be very laser focused on being able to recover. So I would not be shocked. You know, people could compare it to other people who've had this injury, but Patrick Mahomes is not like other people. So I would expect him to definitely to be out sooner rather than later. The one thing I do know is that when you do kind of cut corners with the rehabilitation process, it could increase the chance of re-injuring it again. So that'll be interesting. I mean, it's going to be how much emphasis do you place on just trying to come back, or would he maybe try to cut a corner to do it the right way because he feels like he's in some Super Bowl bubble? So It will be very interesting to see. It also might determine. It also might be determined on how well the Chiefs start the season without him, if that is the case. Because a lot of times it is about like a year injury, and this happened in December. So for him to come back in October or September, that would be very early on a normal timeline. But look, I'm not a doctor. I don't want to speculate too much. I just know that I think people have to look at this very outside the box when you're dealing with someone who has a lot of money like Patrick Mahomes, because he could be able to utilize resources that a lot of people may not even know about.
It's funny that how you said somebody that's very responsible like Patrick Mahomes. So what you're telling me, Oracle, is somebody like Christian Wilkins, who got hurt in the middle of last season and just just didn't do anything, and shows up in OTAs still hurt. He didn't go overseas. He was spending his money. So what you're trying to say is that some things stay the same, and some people take this seriously because it's a $1 million business. So I baited you with that, and you took the bait. I love the bait. Yeah, Christian Wilkins. I mean, he got paid. I mean, I'll give the Raiders a haiku for trying to build the trenches, but you gotta really know somebody to give him that kind of money. And I don't know if we were just like same thing with Chandler Jones. Look at what happened with that. Both of those guys are bozos, you know, and both of them cost us about $150 million. And that's something that it takes a while to come back for. And your Raider fans are like, well, look, guys, you're in a rebuild. We are in a rebuild. There's no doubt about it. Well, the Oracle and I talked about all the TMZers and non-TMZ press out there talking about DJ Glaze. And I like DJ Glaze a lot. And there's too much good in him that I've seen that tells me that he's a bad football player. I just feel like he's in a bad position. There's a couple of people that know what they're talking about that think that DJ Glaze can move to guard, but you got a big problem at the offensive line moving forward next year. Do you trust Colton Miller staying healthy all year? Do you trust JPJ staying healthy all year? Are we going to see the Jordan Meredith come in week 5 and Stone Forsythe come in week 7? Is that? I mean, you gave Colton Miller a lot of money before the start of the season, which I think is utterly the stupidest thing to do, is because you give a guy money before he's even played because you're worried that it's going to cost you more next year. Well, you just lost Colton Miller for, a big part of the season. Now, can we count on Colton Miller 17 games next year? I mean, Jesus, you can't. Trent Brown, Trent Brown's playing again. You're in a rebuild mode, and is there any games this weekend, Oracle, moving to how we rebuild this team? Are we going to watch Ruben Bain this weekend?
Oh, I'll definitely be watching Ruben Bain this weekend, playing a good Texas A&M team. Texas A&M has a pass rusher too, Cassius Howell, I believe is his name.
Yeah, yeah.
Now he might be picked a little bit later. They're talking about that. I'll tell you this: I would not be shocked if Miami upsets Texas A&M. That's the one team that I think could really pull an upset this weekend.
That's a team
I don't know if
nobody
Alabama can.
Nobody wants to play. Ruben Bain, though, a little bit of buyer beware. He was hurt last year.
Yeah,
buyer beware. So it's again, you don't want to you need to know everything. I mean, just like Michael Penix. Michael Penix had shoulder problems before he hit the NFL. That was the reason why people were like, "Whoa!" But you know what? So buyers beware. You got to make sure that guys like that. JPJ, he got hurt. He had concussion problems at Oregon. Before he won the Remington Award his senior year, he had concussion problems. JPJ's been hurt 3 out of the last 4 years. It's a big, big, big problem that the Raiders have. I mean, do you are you penciling these two in as your starters, or are they your swing guys, or are you going to have to get a quality swing guy at each of those positions? So,
yeah. So a couple of weeks ago, I talked about, because of the injuries to Colton Miller and JPJ, they had an offensive line. It was Stone Forsythe, Dylan Parham, Will Putnam. It was Jordan Meredith and DJ Glaze, and combined, the base salaries for all those players were $8.5 million. So when you do have injuries to players like that, let's make sure that the backups, maybe their combined base salary is around like $17 million. And that's going to require spending some money. It's, everyone likes to get the headliners in free agency. Oh, we got to spend. So what they'll do is they'll look at the free agency boards and be like, okay, this is the top right tackle. This is the top guard. We got to get those people. If we don't get those people, what are we doing? But sometimes you got to account for injuries, and you got to account, maybe we could get a couple guys so that way and pay them at a reasonable salary. So that way we don't have a big gaping hole, because when you're playing Will Putnam's base salary was like $850,000. And when you're trying to protect your quarterback, I mean, that's just, and you have another guy in Jordan Meredith who's making like $1 million. You have DJ Glaze on a rookie contract. Dylan Parham still on his rookie contract. Stone Forsythe, who's on a backup contract. The only guy, it's funny, the guy who was making the most money was Alex Kappa, and he started that game on the bench.
Yeah.
So making sure that you're spending money on guys that it's not just you're spending the top dollar, and then because you spent the top dollar, now you got to find the people way at the bottom to fill roster spots. You got to make sure that even though you want to spend money on the top 7 salaries to have them to be sticker players, you got to think about what players 40 through 47 on the roster, how much you're paying them there, because that's going to really be your depth that gets tested later on in the season.
Yeah, and you start paying guys like Christian Wilkins stuff. They come in, they got paid. So you have to have a really good guy, a guy who wants to be a Patrick Mahomes, who's going to do everything he can with his body, and not go to the hometown buffet like Trent Brown.
Can you believe my man Brandon?
He's a badass.
He's that greedy over a 3rd round pick.
I love that though. I love that greediness.
66 instead of pick 69. Like
this guy's counting. He's counting pennies. He's saving the pennies, watching the dollars go by.
Yeah, damn.
So,
this guy could
Oracle, I will be here Sunday watching the game. You're more than welcome to come by. We may or may not have an after. If it's going to be a 31-0 game, I'm not going to come on and talk about anything that doesn't make any sense. But if we have a game and there's quite the stuff the stuff to talk about, we will come on and do a recap game. And I apologize if that's laziness, but it's not laziness. What I don't want to do is relive 3 more hours of what I watched for the first 3 hours. 31-0. Oracle and I looked at each other and said, well, let's watch the afternoon games.
Yeah.
It'll be a lot more fun. Oracle, well, guys, this was a nuance because I'm going on a date this weekend with my wife and my dog. We're going to go fishing and make sure I get back to watch the Raiders Texans game. And I have my I have the TV. I'm going camping in a condo. I'm such a poser. And so we'll be back on. We'll let you know at halftime we'll let you know in halftime. We'll say yay or nay if we're coming on after. If it's a decent game, and it doesn't have to be like, if it's a good game where there's some good things happening, let's talk about it. Ashton Genty rolls off a couple of runs. Jack Besh has a couple nice catches. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the rookies. Let's talk about the rookies. Oracle, have fun tonight. Oracle's working
definitely,
hard.
Man. Have fun glamping. And one thing I want to say is, for those of you who are going to be watching Oregon James Madison, we could have the future quarterback in Dante Moore. I wouldn't rule that out as a possibility. But when you're playing a team like James Madison, you want to make sure he plays a clean game in that game. No trying to force things, no bad interceptions. Just understand that you're playing an inferior competition. Just operate the offense efficiently and effectively. Don't try to be a hero.
Yeah, and there's a ton of reports now that said Dante Moore is going back to Oregon. But again, hold on. That's that. You know what? That's the talk that you hear from the TMZers. If Dante Moore wins a national championship, he's going to be possibly the number one, number two. We're going to have the Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf years. You know what I mean? Or the Eli Manning. What was it? Eli? Who was the other one with Eli that came out?
Phillip Rivers and Ben Roethlisberger.
Yep. So we could have that. Look at my pretty granddaughter on there. Look at that. That's me.
In the Waller jersey.
We were hanging out with Max. We know him. And then he did this. Oh my.
Oh man.
Can I talk? I'm gonna be Max.
Yeah.
What the hell are you doing going outside? I don't care. I don't care about Darian Porter. You need to can't even do it. Max was a little upset this weekend, and that's why you don't trade Max Crosby. That's an asset. Do not trade Max Crosby.
No, unless he wants out. He's the heart and soul of this team.
He's not going to want out. This guy's going to be the king of Las Vegas for the rest of his life. He will be. He can ultimately be one of the top 3 Raiders that ever lived.
Yeah, and same thing with Bowers too. I hope they don't get rid of him either.
I don't think so.
For assets.
I sure hope. I sure hope. You can't do that, man.
No.
Max Crosby. You know what? Our fans love Max Crosby, and it's just he is the Raiders. He'll always be the Raiders, and it's like one thing that you can count on is rooting for Max Crosby. You know he's going to give 110%. And when you want the sportscasters to talk nicely about your team, they talk about Max Crosby. Oracle, see you Sunday, guys. We will talk to you on Sunday. Good night now.
Now it's Siani to the left. Biletnikoff to the right against Marsalis. Back is Lamonica. Throws for Biletnikoff. Touchdown Raiders! Biletnikoff is having words right now with Marsalis. Fred caught that ball after quite a physical battle with Marsalis in the right corner of the end zone. He went on out of the end zone, and then instead of slamming the ball into the turf, he ran back in about 10 yards to where Marsalis was and defiantly slammed it in the turf in front of Marsalis. The 2 tight ends are lined up as tight ends. Back goes Darrell to pass. He's looking for Smith, but instead goes down the middle. Chester, touchdown Raiders! Holy Toledo, what a great ball! 19 yards and a Raider touchdown to make it 22-3. Chester had gotten free at the 5 and was all alone in the end zone 2 yards in. The Chargers now have a brilliant opportunity to put this game away. Here's Williams to the left, Garrison to the right, flanks right, Charlie Smith out to the left as a wingback, leaves only one back to block, that's Hubbard. Lamonica back, gets fine blocking, now he throws down the middle, Branch at the 20. Branch at the 18, tripped up, keeps going, reverses to the 15, he's at the 10, he dances down to the 9-yard line. First and goal to go Raiders. 1 minute and 30 seconds left to go, and hang on to your hats. Branch is still in. He goes to the right, slotted inside Biletnikoff. 5 defensive backs in there. LaMonica gives to Smith, sending him to the left. He's got Upshaw in front. He's at the 5. He's at the 2. It's a touchdown Raiders! Charlie Smith from 9.5 yards out. Oakland has gone in front. Clarence Davis is in for Charlie Smith. He's a deep threat on pass reception. Back goes Stabler to pass. Steps away from the rush. He's going to run up the left side. 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown! Touchdown, Oakland Raiders! I'm sorry I've lost my voice. Kenny Stabler goes all the way 30 yards.